Hi everyone, it's Karen and this is my channel Nobody Karens. Thanks again for tuning in to my channel. In my last video, I talked about what a shit show July was and how horrible it was. And it had me so stressed out and so down and out, and just I felt defeated and exhausted and all kinds of feelings. So now we're in the month of August, and I am supposed to have surgery on August 10th on my right kidney, and it's a nephro-lithotripsy. August 3rd, I was supposed to have my pre-op. I think I called and I told him, I was going to be receiving blood again. So this would have been my blood transfusion number 2 on August 8th, and I asked if I could just do it then, and I think that's when I did it. So I had my blood type screening, and so because every time you receive blood, you have to have a blood type screening. Even though you're always going to be the same blood type you are, you still have to have it, and it's good for about 72 hours. And if that 72 hours has passed, then you have to have a blood type screening again. So I had my blood type screening. I was O positive, which I knew. And on August 8th, I went in to have my second blood transfusion to get 2 units of blood. So it's basically like 4 hours per unit, which is about a pint. 1 unit is a pint. So my dad came with me, and they set me up in a room. So you have TV and you have a bed to lay in, and you're hooked up all day basically getting blood. And what they do is, first they have to find a vein, and I'm pretty veiny. You can't really tell, but I'm very veiny. You can really see my veins. A lot of nurses are like, oh my God, your veins are amazing. So the nurse that I had, she tried to go on my hand, which I did not want. I hate having it in my hand. But she tried there, and she blew my vein, so it was nice and puffy. And then she tried, I think it was like right here. No, she tried right here. So like a normal place, even though I don't like it there either. And blew that vein. So that's 2 veins she blew. So finally, this was the winner. See, you can actually kind of see how veiny I am. So this was the winner. This is where it went. I think it was that, yeah. She had to call someone else in to do it. He got it first try. So I'm hooked up all day to that. And I didn't think it was going to take all day. It was horrible. But, I have to do that in order to have surgery because I'm anemic. And then on August 10th was surgery day. I had made it. Thank the lucky stars, I made it to that surgery. I ended up going in at 12 for a 2 o'clock appointment to have my surgery. I think they were running a little late, so I think I went a little bit later than that. So my doctor came in, my urologist came in, and he told me, this is what could happen. So we go in there, we chip away, we suction out. If it gets too bloody in there, we have to stop because I can't see what I'm doing. Totally understandable. I understand that's how it works. He said that, we already knew that my kidney stone holds infection. And I had already been fighting that infection for weeks now. So he said what could happen is the infection could come out because of, the stone being like shaken and rattled and just irritated from surgery. So, I could spike a fever, my blood pressure could lower, it can make me really sick, or I could be fine. So he kind of gave me the forewarning of what could happen, which was probably, we all should have known was the inevitable. So I go into surgery. Surgery goes really good. I'm all bandaged up when I come out, and I felt okay, felt good. And oh wait, let's take a minute to just appreciate this. I went and voted today. So let's all give it up for America and the 2 jackholes that we have running for president. That's just my opinion. This isn't a political kind of page, so don't worry about it. That's all I'm going to say about that. So I voted, so go me. Okay, so surgery. So surgery went good. I had some issues when I stayed in the hospital, like, I don't know, back in July, where I could not sleep all night. I was crying because I was in so much pain in my legs because I didn't have my medication all day that day. So my mom said, I'm going to stay the night with you the first night just to make sure everything goes okay, because she didn't want me to be alone and, being in misery. So they put me in my room. They got my mom all set up and everything, and I was, hooked up to an IV. They were giving me, I believe, antibiotics and fluids and things like that. I did find out that those 2 pints of blood that I got on the 8th, pretty much that's what it took. So during surgery, I pretty much lost those 2 pints of blood. So I was back to square one. But that's the reason why they gave them to me. So they got mom all set up with some, sheets and a blanket and pillow and everything, and they had got me something to eat, and everything was, pretty good. I had a little bit of a fever. I just felt kind of warm and whatnot, and they had to come check on me, every so often to make sure I was okay, of course. And then it starts getting late, and I hadn't slept. It was the first night, and it was getting late, and all of a sudden my blood pressure drops, my heart rate goes high, and I spike a fever, like 103 type of fever. And I felt fine. I didn't feel any different. I didn't feel like I couldn't breathe. I didn't feel like anything. I just felt a little warm. I felt like I was trying to break a fever. And she came in, and I think she tried to give me something to help my fever, and that didn't work. And then she called in another lady to like see how I was doing and to like check other things. And I think she was asking her, like, what can we do to help her fever and things like that. And finally, because it was getting really late at night, finally they decided they were going to call the rapid response team. And my mom's sleeping, okay? My mom's like snoozing away, and I'm just watching TV. I was trying to go to sleep, and I could not fall asleep. I don't even think they gave me my normal like sleep medication that night. So I was having a really hard time. And I remember I had turned off the TV, and I was trying to sleep, and that's when they came in, because the machine's telling them what's going on. So they came in and checked me. So they ended up calling the rapid response team, which is usually when someone's like having really bad problems. So it's like a team of like 5 to 7 people, and they come in with those, those charger things, like in case like, you die and they have to bring you back to life. They come in with that machine, and there's all these people, and everyone's asking you, how are you? Are you feeling okay? And I'm telling them, I just feel kind of warm. Well, your heart rate is, at like 100, between 130 and 140 was my heart rate. My blood pressure's dropping to like in the 80s. I think as low as, it may have gotten even as low as the 70s, like 79. And so, they have me at a slant. So my head's here, my feet are up here, because they think that the blood needs to rush this way. Rapid response team comes in and says, what are you doing? You're gonna like clog your airway. And the guy is like pissed off at these nurses. So they bring me back to normal. They get me a cold washcloth to put on my head. They're checking my blood pressure. And finally, this really hot guy, very, very cute, says, we need to get, an accurate temperature. And the only way we're going to do that is through rectal thermometer. So yes, I was a baby again, and I had to have a rectal thermometer in front of like 7 people and this really hot guy. So they take my temperature. It's still really up there. I think it was 3 IVs. I had one here, and I think I had one here. 3 IVs going with tons of fluid and antibiotics, and you know, they're trying to get everything like back to normal, and it seemed like nothing was working. They keep asking me how I'm feeling. I said I'm feeling fine, I'm just really warm. And my mom wakes up and she's like, oh my god, like she hears all these people in there, and she just hears, you know, the one guy like barking orders at them, you know, we need a new blood screening, we need a such and such, we need this. And my mom's just like, oh my god. So finally they decide that I need to be put in ICU. And my mom looks calm on the outside, but on the inside she's like freaking out, because remember, I'm an only child. I'm all she, you know, I'm the only, you know, I mean, she has my dad, but I'm, you know, it. So, you know, she's kind of freaking out, and I'm just looking over like, I'm fine, I'm doing okay. I don't understand. Like, we knew what could happen. Like, the doctor said this is what could happen. And of course, it's gonna happen to me, because why wouldn't it, you know? So they send me down to ICU, and the lady down there they only have like 4 beds in ICU at this facility for some reason. I don't know why. I mean, it looks like a huge, full functioning hospital, but apparently it's not. So luckily they switched someone out and they let me go down. So I'm put in ICU. I'm put on, you know, the breathing monitor, the EKG monitor to check that. And, you know, they have to stabilize my fever and everything like that. And it's starting to slowly go down. My heart rate is starting to, my heart rate kind of runs kind of high. Like, I'm usually at like maybe like 100, between 90 and 100. My blood pressure, I found out, runs a little low. So like, I'm usually between like 100, 110 for the top number. So ICU takes good care of me. I was awake still. I didn't get any sleep that night. I don't think I slept until the very next night. I was in ICU for, I believe, about 2 days, and you know, they had to make sure that I wasn't going to spike a fever again, and that you know, my blood pressure was going to be okay, and my heart rate wasn't going to go back up. A heart rate between 130 and 140 is very, very dangerous. So they, you know, again, my mom freaked out. I seemed fine. I didn't I understood what was going on, but I honestly didn't feel any different than I do right now. So it was kind of weird. So Wednesday was the actual surgery, and then I believe Friday is when I went to a regular room, and they told me that they were going, and that was another thing actually with the rapid response team. Apparently my nephrostomy tube wasn't draining properly, and the guy, the really hot guy, was telling them, you have to make sure that drain does not get clogged, because if that drain gets clogged, she's gonna have problems. So for some reason they didn't think about that. They didn't even, I don't know if they just didn't realize it, because I had a catheter bag and a nephro bag. So I had 2 bags, one on each side, and you know, they're telling them, you know, you have to make sure that bag doesn't get pinched or that it doesn't get clogged, because she's gonna have a lot of issues. So I think that was another thing, is that the rapid response team had to like fix that too. So ICU made sure they checked on it constantly and emptied it when it needed to be emptied. And a lot of it, you know, is a lot of blood coming out because it's filtering through my kidney, and that's all bloody and gross. So anyways, so then on the 13th was a Saturday. They told me that they were going to pinch the nephrostomy tube and see how I do, because if I was gonna have a bad reaction to them pinching the nephro bag, I was gonna have to go home with one again. And I had my nephro bag since May. So May, June, July, August. So 3 months I had a nephrostomy tube, and I was ready to have nothing. I wanted to go home tube free. I didn't want anything. Another thing I ended up getting when I was in ICU was a PICC line. I have a scar right here. It looks like a little tiny dot, but I have a scar right here. Is where the PICC line is. So a PICC line goes into through your arm and goes directly into your heart. So they do the ultrasound, they put the PICC line in, and then they do an x-ray to check and see, to make sure it went into the right place. Unfortunately, the first time he overshot, so it went this way, so he had to take it out and like readjust it, not all the way out, but just like readjust it to where it goes down here into my heart. And then they take another x-ray, and he says, if you don't see me again, everything's good to go. So I have this PICC line in because they weren't sure if I was going to have to go home with antibiotics because of the infection. So the PICC line has 3 ports basically. And then that way I didn't have to have all of these IVs. So remember, I told you I had 3 IVs in the ICU. Well, they ended up giving me 3 IVs upstairs before they took me down to the ICU. So this covered everything. You know, I can take medicine through here, fluids through there, everything. It's just kind of more like a nuisance to have. So because I had a PICC line put in, when I was going to be released, I was going to have home care. So I would have to have someone come out and check on my PICC line once a week. And I would have to learn how to take care of it and flush it and everything. So anyways, back to the 13th, they pinched my tube. I did fine. I didn't have any issues, and I was hoping to go home that Sunday. Either way, I was hoping to go home that Sunday. So my urologist came in early Sunday morning, and he wanted to check on everything. He said they actually ended up pulling out my nephrostomy tube, and it was kind of a weird feeling, but I don't know, it was like, I don't know how to explain it. Like, you could feel something coming out, and then you felt like warm, like a warmness, because there was like liquid coming out. And he said everything looked really good. He was expecting it to not look as good, so everything looked good for him, and he ended up taking it out. He said I didn't need it. And they took out the catheter, of course, and I got to go home on that Sunday, so I believe that was the 14th. But I was going home with the sweet PICC line. So that was my surgery, and that was just ridiculous. That was it was a constant, you know, up and down, because the ICU visit and the fevers and infection, and my kidney just basically yelling at my body, like, what are you doing? I was fine. Don't touch me. Don't break me up. You know, let me just be. So luckily everything went great. I made it to finally having my first surgery, and I was just so happy to have it done. I was finally there, and I was just excited. I didn't care that I was going home with the PICC line. I was just happy to go home. I was happy to have this first surgery done. But I was a little worried because I had never had a PICC line before, and I didn't know how to take care of it. And they told me, you know, someone's gonna come out and show you what you need to do. So that was my first surgery and all of its mess. And like I said, I was just happy. I mean, I was very sore and I was very weak the first few days after that, but they made sure I like walked around in the hospital, because, you know, the more you walk around, the better you are. You're not gonna be stagnant, and that infection isn't gonna just sit there. You know, your body's gonna try to like fight it off a little more. So that was my very first surgery. I was happy to have it out of the way. I had made it. I never thought I would make it. Nobody thought I would make it. I mean, I'm sure you didn't think I was gonna make it. I bet you were thinking, oh, there's gonna be another postponement, because that's what I was thinking. Like, I told myself, I'm not gonna believe it's happening until I am wheeling off into the surgery room and I am almost out. So I'm glad I had that done, and in my next video I will explain more about my PICC line and when my next surgery is gonna be. So thank you so much again for tuning in, you guys. I really appreciate it.